Hello and welcome. My name is Patrick Mann. eBusiness Office specialises in marketing strategies, tactics and programs to assist small businesses grow rapidly, profitably and sustainably, and we guarantee the outcome. The purpose of this webinar is to provide insights and a true understanding of marketing and the enormous untapped potential it offers the vast majority of business owners. The untapped potential lies behind the title of today's presentation. We'll cover a large amount of material in a short time, and as you'll see, I like to maintain a reasonable pace. So let's get started. As we move through this presentation, you'll gain perspectives of your own business and of your customers. This will fill some gaps for some of you, while for others it will cause some discomfort. Let me be more specific. The vast majority of business owners accept 0 to 3% as success when it comes to generating leads and growing their business, if they do any marketing at all. Not only is this unfortunate, it should be totally unacceptable. To ignore the ingredients of marketing and the potential it offers your competitors, to accept and repeat 3% as being successful, particularly in the current economic environment, can put a business at risk. In simple terms, if 0 to 3% is acceptable as a measure for your lead generation success, perhaps because your competitors are doing the same, it's quite likely that whatever you've ever learned about generating leads and growing your business is wrong. What I want to do is teach you a system for marketing your business to a point where it will become obvious to your prospects that they would be foolish to do business with anyone other than you, at any time, anywhere, and at your price. I'm going to show you how to achieve significant leverage with your marketing, meaning simply that you'll make more money for the same time, the same money, and the same effort you're expending right now. Why will this enable you to dominate your local market? Simply because most businesses simply don't know how to do this. They don't understand the tremendous untapped potential that lies within their marketing. Most businesses today spend some money on marketing and advertising and then decide that whatever results they get from that marketing, it's probably about as good as it's going to get. They realize that their results can fluctuate, but they never imagine that so much more is possible. It's just a matter of adopting and properly implementing the right system. The marketing system I'm going to teach you today is based on unchanging principles of human nature. These dictate that people always want to make the best buying decisions possible, and therefore marketing's job, your job, is not to talk incessantly about how good you are or your low prices. Your job is to position your prospective buyers so they have total control over the decision-making process, based on them having enough quantity and quality of information to determine that they're receiving the best possible value for the price they pay. The system I'm going to teach you may appear a breakthrough in marketing and advertising, yet it's simple and easy to understand. We have any number of client successes to prove that this works literally every time when it's implemented properly, regardless of your business or industry. I'm going to introduce you to some common sense principles of marketing that you'll be able to instantly validate. Principles that will give you a clear vision of what your marketing is supposed to look like and, just as importantly, what it's not supposed to look like. I want to show you the fundamental formulas and strategies to not only make your marketing work better, but enable you to create what we call competition-crushing marketing. I want you to see how powerful all of this is, allow you to comprehend what the possibilities are for your business and what a significant advantage you'll hold over your competitors when you implement it. So, let's go. There are two main components to any marketing plan: strategic marketing and tactical marketing. Strategic marketing is the content of your message. It's what you say and how you say it, including the concepts that you choose to focus on, the words and images you use to communicate those concepts, and the tone in which the message is delivered. Tactical marketing, on the other hand, has to do with the execution of the strategic marketing, such as placing ads, building a website, attending trade shows, and things like that. If I ask a business owner about their marketing plan, the answer almost always comes back in terms of tactical marketing. They send direct mail, they run radio ads, create a website, all those kinds of things. But the key to effective marketing is to master the strategic side, not the tactical. What you say in your marketing and how you say it are almost always more important than the marketing medium where you say it. But both are important, of course, but the real leverage is in the messaging itself, and that's the strategic side of marketing. In fact, when a marketing campaign bombs, the tendency is almost always to blame the medium like the TV or radio station, which is part of the tactical plan, without any regard as to how good or bad the strategy behind the marketing piece was. During this presentation, you'll learn how to say things in a way that will make a profound difference in your marketing results. This system has been successfully implemented in over 400 different industries, including business advisors, social media consultants, contractors, brokers, accountants, financial companies, retail stores, real estate companies, home builders, restaurants, software companies, doctors, dentists, remodelers, internet companies, manufacturing companies, and anything and everything else that you can think of. We've even used it to help a $10 per hour dog walker build his business to over $500,000. This approach to lead generation works with all sizes of business, from startups to listed companies. But our passion lies in working with small businesses averaging $2 million in revenue and below. This system will allow you finally to quit competing on price and start selling your product or service for what it is really worth. You'll drive in more leads with an increase in your advertising response by 2 to many multiples. You'll also convert a higher percentage of those leads. You'll increase the amount of your average sale, and your list of clients that pay, stay and refer will increase significantly. In short, you'll get a bigger bang for your marketing buck, but maybe best of all, you'll gain total control over your marketing and lead generation results. So let me ask one simple question. What is the actual purpose of marketing? I mean, what is marketing really supposed to do? In a nutshell, marketing is supposed to help facilitate your prospects' decision-making process. There are prospects out there that need to buy what you sell. Sometimes they need to be educated to the fact that they need to buy what you sell in the first place, and other times they already know that they want it, but they need help deciding who they should buy it from. Often they think they might want what you sell, but they may have questions and concerns that need to be overcome before they'll pull out their credit card. But consider this. Because your prospects are not experts in what you do, or their exposure to what you sell is low, they don't really know the relevant issues surrounding the purchase. They don't know how to make the best decision. They can't tell the difference between the best deal and a major mistake, which leaves an opportunity for you to provide them with this information and then guide them through the buying process. So your job, simply put, is to facilitate your prospects' decision-making process. This is actually pretty simple. Prospects and customers want much the same thing, and it really doesn't matter what type of business you have. They want to feel confident that their money has been well spent and that their decision has been made to the best of their ability. They want to get the best deal, not just the best price, but the best deal in terms of overall value. People instinctively want to make the best decision possible and not feel that they've got to second guess what they've done. All you have to do as the marketer is work out what's important to your prospects. Educate them as to what constitutes the best deal when it comes to buying what you sell. Remember, value. And then show them quantifiable proof that you actually provide the best deal in terms of price and value. All this has to be communicated to them in a way they'll pay attention to, believe in, and then take action on. When this occurs, the prospect gets what they really want from you, complete confidence that they've made the best decision possible and achieved the best value. But here's the problem. Instead of using marketing to educate and facilitate the decision-making process and build the case why a product or service is the best on the market, most businesses fill their marketing with self-serving jargon that's only a thinly veiled way to say, buy it from me because I want you to give me the money instead of my competitor. That's why people become jaded, and that's why they resist marketing. They tend to either dismiss your entire marketing message, or worse, they become skeptical and stop paying attention to the message altogether. Prospective buyers want and need to be educated so that they can feel confident when making their purchasing decision, and no one's providing it in their marketing. But here's the good news. The first one who does provide prospects with this form of information wins all most profitable customers. When marketing is done improperly, the end result is 100% predictable. You start to feel intense pricing pressure from your prospects, and typically you're forced to cave in, lower your prices, destroy your margins, and make much less money than you should just to stay competitive. And invariably, you also get to spend more time at work and away from your family than those that are successful. And here's the brutal truth, and please don't be offended by this. If you're always competing on price, it's your own fault. Your lack of marketing ability has led to a situation where there's no discernible difference between you and your competition. There have been no additional parameters or relevant issues introduced to educate your prospects as to what really constitutes the best value when it comes to buying what you sell. If you feel you're always competing on price, it's because price is the only relevant variable that you've given your prospects to consider. From the prospect's perspective, all things appear equal, so they default to the business offering the lowest price. I'm about to show you how to fix that once and for all. Our system, simply put, is a step-by-step program for innovating and marketing your business. The system will allow you to first be better than the competition, and then second, do better marketing than your competition. This allows you to separate your business from your competition and become the obvious choice for your prospects to do business with. Consider this. There are actually two sides to your business. First, there's what I call inside reality, and second, what I call outside perception. The inside reality encompasses everything you do and everything that makes your business great. It's all of your skills, the people who work for you, your expertise, the way you service your customers before, during and after the sale. It's your systems, your operational procedures, your commitment to excellence. It's your passion and the way you conduct your business on a daily basis. Add these all together and they equal your value to the marketplace. That's what I call the inside reality. So, how's your inside reality? If you asked your customers why they buy from you, they could probably tell you something quantifiable, specific, and instantly obvious. They could point to specific benefits they enjoy when doing business with you. Then they would say things like, "That's why I do business here. That's why I refer my friends here. And that's why I'm a loyal customer. That's why I'm willing to pay more here and why I keep coming back." That's your inside reality. So your inside reality is all about what you do and what you are that allows you to perform better. However, your outside perception has to do with how customers and prospects perceive your company. The outside perception is developed through the interactions that your prospects and customers have with your business. Your customers will draw on their past buying experiences with you to form the outside perception of your business. But here's the problem. If you provide unmatched and unequaled customer service and your customers absolutely love you, none of that matters to your prospects. Number one, they don't even know you exist as an option. Or number two, they see your marketing and advertising and, because of your inability to market your business properly, their perception is that you're no different or no better or no worse than your competitors. I would estimate that well over 95% of all businesses are completely inept when it comes to marketing, and the end result is that your inside reality and the outside perception do not match. At best, you would face a difficult time running such a business, or worse, it's unsustainable in the long term. You see, regardless of how good you are, regardless of your inside reality, your prospect isn't going to be able to figure out your true inside reality based on your marketing. You simply appear to be just another business that sells whatever it is that you sell. And don't say, "Well, that's okay because I've got a good salesperson, and when they get in front of my prospects they'll be able to educate them and close the sale." That's a great theory, but I can guarantee that even your best salesperson is never going to close a prospect who doesn't know you exist, and therefore never bothers to contact you in the first place. How can you close people who never contact you? Obviously, you can't. That's why your marketing must do the heavy lifting for you. Let your marketing deliver eager, qualified prospects to your sales funnel, but don't drown them. And there's even worse news. Competition today is more fierce now than it's ever been. How many competitors do you have right now in your business? Because that's how many choices your prospects have, and that's how many additional businesses they have to sift through and filter as they attempt to reach a buying decision. And obviously, the internet has only made the problem worse. Have you noticed that everyone is using online marketing, SEO, pay-per-click, Facebook, social marketing, and rightfully so. Most prospects are so busy these days that most of them start their buying process by researching online. Your marketing must be effective. So what about you? What is your outside perception? Grab your marketing material, look at your ads, take a look at your website. Is it instantly obvious, specific, and quantifiable? What makes you better, unique, and different? Do you show your prospects how to judge your industry? What factors they need to consider when deciding what to buy, and how you provide greater value than any of your competitors. You'll realize as these concepts start to sink in that the crux of most marketing problems, including yours, can be wrapped up in one simple statement. Most businesses' outside perception is not an accurate reflection of their inside reality. So I'm going to show you why this is happening and what you can do to fix this for your business forever. I suggested at the beginning of this presentation that what you've been taught about generating leads and growing your business is wrong. Let me clarify what that statement means based on what we've discussed so far. All of us alive today, with no exceptions, grew up in an era where almost all of the advertising you've ever seen or heard is a product of the era of the brand builders. Over time, we've all become conditioned as to what constitutes a good advertisement. We learned the fundamental pattern for what to put into a commercial. We learned about slogans and jingles and being funny. We learned that in marketing and advertising, the outside perception no longer has to reflect the inside reality. For this reason, the large majority of business owners conditioned in this way, their marketing is wrong. As a result of this new breed of advertising, jargon has started to dominate all marketing and advertising. Think of jargon as words or phrases that are dreary and commonplace and predictable, that lack power to evoke interest through overuse or repetition, and that are nevertheless stated as though they were original or significant. In most forms of advertising, you see and hear jargon all the time. Since businesses only have 30 seconds to try and convey what makes them special, they lump everything into jargon such as largest selection, most professional, lowest prices, highest quality, best service, fastest, most convenient, largest in the state, more honest, we're experts, we specialise, we work harder, we get the job done just right, and yes, we've been in business for 4,000 years. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be those kinds of things. Those actually make up the foundation you want to use to build your inside reality. But consider this, if my marketing says that I offer high quality and great service, isn't that just dreary, commonplace and predictable? Doesn't it lack power to evoke interest through overuse or repetition? Isn't it nevertheless stated as though it were original and significant? Does my inside reality, what really makes me good at what I do, does that really shine through? Can you tell specifically what makes me valuable to the marketplace when I say highest quality or best service? You see, you simply can't describe, demonstrate, exhibit, reveal, or display your inside reality using jargon. It's impossible. And the unfortunate end result is an outside perception that you're no different to anyone else. There's absolutely no distinction, no separation, and no differentiation. None. You just can't make your inside reality and outside perception match up when you use jargon like this. In fact, let me give you several ways you can easily and quickly evaluate your own marketing to see if you're caught up in the jargon trap. Jargon evaluator number 1 is what we call, well, I would hope so. When you make a claim, don't think about it in terms of the words coming out of your mouth. Think about it in terms of the words entering your prospect's ears. This will enable you to realize just how absurd most jargon sounds. Look at the messaging in your marketing and then ask yourself if the prospect's immediate response might be, well, I would hope so. Let me give you an example. I recently saw a TV ad for a home renovation company. Throughout the ad, they continuously emphasized the fact that their work was of the highest quality, it was fairly priced, and they guaranteed 100% satisfaction. Well, I would hope so. Would you hire any tradesperson or service provider who didn't provide all of those as a standard part of their service? Of course not. But this is all jargon. It's dreary and it's commonplace. It lacks power to evoke interest through overuse or repetition. How about this from a consulting company? Our training leads to change. We increase the productivity, performance and profit of your company. Well, I would hope so. Does anyone hire a consultant for any other reason than to do those things? Most ads today are nothing more than a jargon fest. Does this jargon tell you anything about these companies' inside reality? What else would you expect them to say? Everyone else is going to say wonderful things about their own company if they can get away with it. The problem is that if your company has an exceptional inside reality and you're using the same jargon as everyone else, then the outside perception is that you're all the same. And that's when prospects default to the company offering the lowest price. Price now becomes the only determining factor. When you use this simple evaluation, just ask yourself openly and honestly, why would anyone choose you over your competition? Then evaluate your answer against, well, I would hope so. And finally, check out all of your advertising and marketing materials, including your website. Do these pass the well, I would hope so evaluation, or are they all chock full of jargon? If they fail, then you need to make changes. Let me provide you with a second evaluation technique. It's called Who Else Can Say That? This is similar to the first evaluation technique, and it's also a product of the era of the brand builders. Pay very close attention to this one. Stop thinking in terms of who else can do what I do. Instead, think in terms of who else can say what I say. Because the answer, unfortunately, is usually anybody and everybody can say what you say. I know of a kitchen company that ran by far the most impressive business in its community. Every member of the crew had at least 15 years experience. They were all certified subcontractors. They'd won multiple industry awards. They were the only kitchen company that provided not only a full satisfaction guarantee, but also had a 10-year material and labour warranty on everything they did. They left the job site every night cleaner than when they first arrived. They also guaranteed they could remodel any kitchen in no more than 5 days, half the time of their competitors. This, of course, meant far less disruption and inconvenience to the homeowner. In short, their inside reality was literally second to none. But they had a huge marketing problem. Their marketing looked virtually identical to all of their far less worthy competitors. Their marketing said things like certified subcontractors, guaranteed satisfaction, and then a long laundry list of the work they performed, such as new cabinets installed, complete kitchen remodeling, and so on. Oh, and they accept Visa and MasterCard. Well, I would hope so. But then ask this question: who else can say all of that? When the owner of this remodeling company was asked that very question, he got really defensive. He said, "There's no other remodeler that can begin to match the work we do. Our subcontractors are far and away the best there is. No one, and I mean no one, can say what we say." Understandably, this contractor was extremely passionate and protective when it came to the superior company he had worked so long and hard to develop over the years. So finally, to try to get the point across to him, he was asked to pull up the website of his 5 biggest competitors and see what all of them were saying on their homepage. Let's just say that his jaw hung open for about 2 minutes straight before he finally pointed at the screen and said, "Oh my gosh, look at this other company's website. I know this guy. He's terrible, but his site says exactly the same thing as mine. In fact, I think he's copied my site word for word." He looked at similar businesses and saw that all of their websites were virtually identical to his. So remember, it's not who can do what you can do, it's who can say what you say. And if your marketing is full of jargon, then sadly the answer is all of your competitors can. Let me give you one final jargon detection and evaluation. It's called the Scratch Out, Write It test. Take a look at your brochure, advertisement or website. Now scratch out your name and write in your competitor's name. That's it. If the marketing is still valid, if the website still conveys the same basic message, if there wouldn't need to be any additional changes, then guess what? You just failed this test. This evaluation can be very revealing. Most businesses discover they run fairly high on the jargon meter. You may find that your inside reality, excellent as it may be, is nowhere to be found in your marketing message. It's all but lost in the sea of jargon and completely invisible to your prospects. Is this making sense to you now? Is it evident that this might be a problem and a tremendous competitive advantage if you can figure out how to fix this in your business? So let me show you how to fix this. Let me explain how you can follow a very simple process that we call the conversion equation. And when you do, you'll eliminate jargon forever. I'm going to show you how you become a communications powerhouse, make your own outside perception become an excellent reflection of your inside reality, and finally begin to get the results from your marketing that you should be getting in the first place. Let me introduce you to the conversion equation. It has 4 main components. Let me start with a brief introduction and then I'll get into more detail. The first component of the conversion equation is called interrupt. This is simply the process of getting qualified prospects to pay attention to your marketing. This is often accomplished by affecting the prospect emotionally. Sounds simple enough, doesn't it? Unfortunately, it's a lot more difficult to pull this off in real life, unless of course you understand what you're about to learn here. The second component is engage. Once the prospect is interrupted, it's critical to give the reader the promise that information is forthcoming that will help the prospect make the best decision possible, or, in other words, facilitate the decision-making process. This is also best accomplished on an emotional level. The third component is educate. Once you've interrupted and engaged the prospect, you have to give them information that allows them to logically understand how and why you solved the emotional problem. This is accomplished by giving detailed, quantifiable, specific, inside reality revealing information. This turns the corner from an emotional sell, remember you interrupted and engaged them based on emotional hot buttons, to a logical sell. This is easy to do if you just follow this conversion equation. And the fourth and final component of the conversion equation is the offer. Now the prospect has been interrupted based on the problems that are important to them emotionally, engaged by the promise of a solution to that emotional problem, and they've examined the educational information that makes your solution to that emotional problem real and believable. So the last step is for you to give the prospect a low, or better yet no risk, way for them to take the next step in the sales process. This can be accomplished by offering a free marketing tool such as a report, brochure, seminar, audio, video, or something similar that educates them even more, so the prospect feels in complete control of the decision-making process. This conversion equation follows the formula for what marketing is supposed to do in the first place. In fact, at this point, we can simply say that marketing's job is to interrupt, engage, educate, and offer. You may or may not have heard this expression, but if you want to know why Jane Doe buys what Jane Doe buys, you've got to see the world through Jane Doe's eyes, right? Well, I'd submit to you that if you want to know what Jane Doe sees, you'd better first understand how Jane Doe's brain works, how it processes information, and how it makes decisions. To understand this process, there are three major concepts that I need to teach you. Three concepts that will make all the difference in the world of your marketing's effectiveness and, more importantly, in your company's profitability. The three things you need to know about Jane Doe's brain are downtime, uptime, and the reticular activation system, also known as the reticular activator. Let's begin by discussing first the concept called downtime. Simply put, this is the hypnotic state of running automatic patterns that allows your brain to perform habitual tasks without any conscious thought. You do this all the time. For instance, have you ever driven to work and when you get there you don't remember making the trip? That's downtime. This occurs because driving to work is a habitual pattern that you do so frequently that you don't have to consciously think about it. Have you ever stepped out of the shower and couldn't remember if you shampooed your hair or not? Your brain performs all of these daily routine functions with no conscious thought. Now, here's what downtime means in marketing terms. People see and hear ads with their eyes and ears, but they don't notice them on a conscious level. If you open a newspaper, you'll be looking at maybe 70% ads and only 30% bona fide news articles. But because the ads are only seen on a downtime level, 9.9 times out of 10, you won't consciously notice them at all. All you consciously see is the news, which is what you were there for in the first place. The second concept is what's known as uptime. This is the brain's state of alertness or active engagement. It's like when you're driving on the freeway in a heavy thunderstorm. Your hands are gripped firmly on the wheel at 10 and 2 o'clock and your pupils are as big as saucers. You're sensitive and you're responsive to everything around you. You're in uptime when you're watching a horror movie and you hear the music building to a crescendo in anticipation of something scary happening. You can think of uptime as your brain going on alert mode. But here's what uptime means when it comes to your marketing. When your prospect is in uptime mode, they consciously notice your ad or marketing piece, and they're open to your suggestions and solutions. Something captures their attention and compels them to keep paying attention. The key to marketing is to get your prospects out of downtime and into uptime. We want to shake them out of their natural subconscious haze, where they never see your ad or marketing piece, and into uptime, where they're fully conscious and aware of what you're trying to communicate to them. Once you understand how to do this, you'll have the ability to make a fortune with your marketing. But to completely grasp this model, you've got to learn the third major concept about how Jane Doe's brain works, which is called the reticular activator. The reticular activator is the part of your brain that's on the lookout 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when you're asleep. It constantly scans the environment looking for things that fall into any of these three categories: things that are familiar, things that are unusual, and things that are problematic. When the brain detects any of these three categories on a subconscious level, it sends a message over to the conscious side of the brain and says, "Hey, wake up, there's something here you need to pay attention to." And, by the way, whatever those familiar, unusual, or problematic things are, we call them activators. In short, your brain on a subconscious level is constantly on the lookout for activators. It's searching for things that are familiar, things that are unusual, or things that are problematic. In other words, things that demand a conscious response. Whenever it finds one, it pokes your conscious brain and snaps it out of downtime sleep mode and into uptime alert mode. Let me give you an example of the raw power of your own reticular activator, and please don't get mad at me for what I'm about to do to you. I'm going to permanently embed this example directly into your reticular activator system, and I guarantee that you'll remember this for the remainder of your life on this planet. Seriously, here we go. I'm certain that at some stage over the past year you've seen a FedEx truck make its deliveries or just the FedEx logo at a sporting event. FedEx has been in business since 1971. So let me ask you a question. How many times have you seen the FedEx sign? Never? Several hundred? 1,000 times? So here's question number 2. Have you ever seen the hidden message within the FedEx logo? Yes, that's a serious question. Did you know that there's a hidden message within every FedEx logo? If you're saying right now that's impossible, you've seen that logo thousands of times and you certainly would have noticed a message in there at some point in time, then join the crowd. 99% of the population have never seen the hidden message. Are you ready for me to tell you where it is? Next time you see a FedEx logo, look between the E and the X in FedEx. You'll see an arrow pointing to the right. It's as plain as day. And yet very few people have ever detected it over all of these years. That logo was specifically designed that way from the start. And it isn't just something that happened by coincidence when the designer created it. No one sees it. But guess what? You will now see it every single time you look at the logo. Why? Because now that I've drawn your attention to it, coupled with the fact you had no idea it was there before, the next time you see that arrow, your brain will perceive it to be unusual, and that automatically triggers your reticular activator. Remember, things that are familiar, unusual, or problematic. Poke your brain and make it pay attention through your reticular activator. But guess what's going to happen next? Now that you know that the arrow is there, every time you see that FedEx logo, your brain will immediately seek out that arrow. And as you observe it over and over, the arrow will move from being unusual to being familiar. And in both of those cases, guess what also happens? You will only notice the arrow for a second or two because your brain activates when you see it, moving you from downtime into uptime. But since the arrow isn't really relevant or important to you, your brain quickly reverts to downtime. So what does all this have to do with marketing then? The short answer is everything. Understanding what wakes people up so they pay attention is what's going to get your marketing message past the interrupt stage and onto the engage stage. And when we've engaged your prospect, we've just increased your chances of selling to the people you're trying to engage by 1000%. Creativity's main purpose in advertising is to dream up something so weird, so strange, so shocking, so unusual that it'll snap a prospect out of downtime and into uptime. As we've said, this is otherwise known as interrupt. But here's the key. Here's what no one else seems to understand, and what just may be the most important thing you'll learn today. Once the brain is activated, once it's been broken out of downtime and into uptime alert mode, it wants to engage. So it immediately and subconsciously searches for additional clarifying information. The brain wants to know, hey, what's this all about? How does this affect me? Do I need to do anything about this? Literally on a subconscious level, the brain goes on a fact-finding mission. The bottom line is the brain wants to know, how is this important and relevant to me? Should I allocate any conscious bandwidth to this? So it searches for additional facts. If it finds them, it'll become engaged. If not, it will quickly revert back into downtime. We all call these important, relevant issues hot buttons. If you're a golf fan and your reticular activator detects that Tiger Woods is on television, it notices that on a conscious level because Tiger Woods is familiar. He's an activator. Then your brain immediately asks, hey, what's Tiger Woods doing with that golf club or that car? Is there anything here that's relevant or important to me? Or in other words, is this a hot button issue for me at this point in my life? What typically happens is your brain determines that a new golf club is not important or relevant to you. It doesn't do anything to solve any of your immediate problems, and therefore it's not a hot button. So your brain immediately reverts back into downtime. But let me be crystal clear here. An activator is something that snaps a person from downtime to uptime, and it's based on something that's familiar, unusual, or problematic. But an activator can also be classified as a hot button if and only if it's based on something that's important and relevant to your prospect. Your best bet to successfully interrupt and engage your target market is to identify problems, frustrations, uncertainties, and annoyances your prospects have, and then address them in your marketing. Their pain in most cases is their hot button. And please don't think this is some form of manipulation. All we're doing here is tapping into the problems that your prospects already have. We're not trying to manufacture a crisis here. We're merely poking their problems and pointing out those problems so that their reticular activator notices and brings us onto their active radar screen. Now, here's the key point in all of this, and one that none of the big ad agencies understand, and one that you need to know in order to make this all work for you. The activators that are used to interrupt the prospect must be based on a relevant hot button. If not, the prospect will momentarily be interrupted, but will quickly revert from uptime back into downtime. This is what we call false uptime. Have you ever heard someone call out your name in a crowded room? That immediately interrupts you because your name is familiar. But when you turn around to see who it was that was calling you, you realize, oops, they were actually calling out to someone else with my name. Your name is an activator, but because in that situation your name wasn't important or relevant to you, it didn't engage you. You quickly reverted right back to downtime. That's what we call false uptime. Remember what I said about the FedEx logo? Now that you know the arrow is there, every time you see it, your brain will immediately seek it out because it's unusual. But the more often you see it, that arrow shifts from being unusual to being familiar. Then you'll only notice it for a second or two, and then your brain quickly reverts back into downtime because the arrow isn't relevant or important to you. This happens in marketing and advertising all the time. Most marketing interrupts, but it doesn't engage. Just like Tiger Woods and the car or the golf club, he's famous and you like golf, so it captures your attention. It interrupts you. But when you find out that it's not based on anything that's important to you, when there's nothing relevant, nothing that solves some problem that you have, you quickly revert to downtime. This is one of the things that almost no one understands, and one of the main reasons marketing fails. You've been conditioned to believe that as long as you've interrupted the prospect, that's it. That's good enough. The job is done. But you have to realize that if you only interrupt the prospect, that's only 1/4 of the conversion equation. You've got to include all four components: interrupt, engage, educate, and offer to get the maximum results from your marketing and advertising. When it actually comes to writing the marketing, we typically like to portray the hot buttons in the form of headlines. The headline is the first opportunity you have to interrupt Jane Doe. You've got maybe 1 to 3 seconds maximum to interrupt the prospect, so you better make sure that headline has activators in it. And those activators are based on things that are important and relevant to that prospect. Remember, hot buttons, words and phrases that describe problems or frustrations that the prospect is feeling so that their reticular activator latches onto them and snaps them into uptime. In print advertising, magazines, newspapers, yellow pages and so on, the form of headline is obvious. In radio, the headline is the first sentence they hear. On Google AdWords, it's the first bit of text they read. On television, it's the first thing they see and hear. In brochures, business cards, other marketing material and your company website, it's the first thing they see. Let me give you one quick example for a daycare. When I ask a childcare provider why parents should choose them instead of the 17 other local centres, they almost always give me the same boring answers. High quality, attention to detail, we supervise our staff better, we're honest, we've taken care of more than 200 children, and so on. Nothing but jargon. Unfortunately, this exact same jargon shows up in boring, ineffective headlines. For instance, when I looked at the marketing material of various childcare centres, they said things like safe, nurturing and creative environments, optimise your child's development, acclaimed by thousands of parents, accredited by industry professionals, a leader in early childhood care and education. Those are all real headlines from real ads. Jargon and more jargon. But note this as well. These headlines all speak to the daycare, not to the prospect. You could place the word we in front of all of that jargon and it would fit perfectly. We optimise your child's development. We're acclaimed by thousands of parents. We're accredited by industry professionals. Prospects don't care about the childcare centre. They care about themselves and their child. None of these headlines address the problems or concerns of the parents, do they? If you really want to interrupt John and Jane Doe, you've got to use much more powerful language than that to get them to respond on an emotional level. How about this headline to effectively communicate the concept of a safe, nurturing and creative environment? Ever felt like your daycare treated your child like a number instead of a little person? Or how about this one, to convey being a leader in early childhood care and education? Is your daycare's idea of good educational curriculum watching TV? Or this one, introducing a daycare that doesn't consider macaroni and cheese to be one of the 4 major food groups? All of these headlines work in tandem with close-up pictures that work to reinforce this powerful and compelling message. That headline that said, ever felt like your daycare treated your child like a number instead of a little person? Next to it is a 4-year-old child sitting in the corner with his head buried in his hands, crying. This is powerful, emotional and compelling. It is truly interrupting. See how these headlines speak to the issues of the prospect instead of the daycare. See how they reflect an attention to detail that is the foundation of this daycare's inside reality. Of course you do, because it's obvious. To successfully engage, all you have to do is use a headline or subheadline that promises the reader that if they will keep reading or listening to the ad, they'll get information that will facilitate their making the best decision possible. Not sales information, not here's how great we are information, but rather bona fide decision facilitating information. Sometimes the headline itself will engage, but more frequently it's a subheadline that makes the promise to educate, and therefore it engages. Let's go back to the daycare ad and continue that example. Remember the one that had the headline that said, ever felt like your daycare treated your child like a number instead of a little person? Follow-up engaged subheadline would simply say, how to ensure your child gets personal, loving, caring, one-on-one attention at daycare. Or the headline that said, is your daycare's idea of good educational curriculum watching TV? The follow-up headline that engages says, how would you like your child to be reading at a first grade level before starting kindergarten? In both cases, these subheadlines clarify the first headline and let the readers know that if they keep reading the ad, they can expect to find specific details regarding each of these major hot button issues. In short, these subheadlines engage. There are plenty more examples, but we don't have time for these today. And that brings us to the third and fourth components of the conversion equation: educate and offer. I mentioned earlier in the presentation that every marketing piece should contain a risk-lowering offer to encourage the prospect to take the next step. And that offer should generally be to receive additional information, or in other words, to further educate the prospect and to build your case. Now, here's the real key to success in marketing. The right offer allows you to capture a large percentage of all future buyers in addition to those looking to buy right now. There's an educational process that the prospect goes through from the moment they begin thinking about buying your product or service to the point where they actually complete the purchase. Most marketing only caters for those now buyers who will be making a purchasing decision in the very near future, and it does nothing or very little to educate those who are just thinking about it right now, but who might buy later. And here's the problem with that. At any given moment, the number of prospects who are ready to buy right now represents no more than 1 to 5% of all those who ultimately are going to buy what you sell. You've got 95 to 99% of your prospects who are in the thinking about it and gathering information mode only. But when they're attempting to gather information, you don't give it to them. This is where the fourth component of the conversion equation becomes absolutely huge. Your offer gives you the opportunity to provide additional educational information to the gathering information mode prospects. And in the process, you capture valuable information about who these people are so that you can proactively market to them on an ongoing basis. This allows you to take total control of your target market. The daycare that we've been talking about makes a perfect example of this. How many of the parents that see that ad for daycare remember the one that says, "Ever felt like your daycare treated your child like a number instead of a little person?" Or the one that said, "Is your daycare's idea of good educational curriculum watching TV?" Remember those? How many of those readers do you think are ready and waiting to relocate their child from their current daycare to this one, and were relieved to see this ad so they could finally make the switch? My guess might be maybe 1% maximum are now buyers, but the headline, sub-headline, and the images are so powerful because they do such a good job of interrupting and engaging. A lot more parents who are not ready to buy right this minute are going to see those ads, pay attention, and be interested. These powerful ads could easily compel as many as 10, 15, or even 25% of the parents who read these ads to seriously contemplate changing daycare services. But if the ad's only offer is the typical one that most daycares put in their ads, call for a free consultation, then none of these future buyers are going to call. Why would they? If you're not ready to make a change, why on earth would you call now for a free consultation? Because you wouldn't. Furthermore, the ad itself is relatively limited in size. The daycare can't possibly cram their entire case with all of its associated evidence right there in the ad. It just won't fit. This is why we would recommend that the daycare provide what we call an informational offer. What if they offered everyone who calls a free report titled 10 Things Your Daycare May Not Tell You? This report uncovers the 10 critical areas all parents must know and investigate before they place their children with anyone offering daycare services. This report compares the 17 most popular area daycares against each other in all 10 of these areas, saving the parents their time, effort, and energy when making that all-important decision as to who will watch their child. But here's the really clever part of having this type of offer. When the parents do call or go online to request the free report, the daycare can now capture that prospect's contact information and proactively market to them from now until forever. Interrupt, engage, educate, and offer make up the conversion equation, and that equation is literally the backbone of all the incredibly successful marketing campaigns we've ever put together. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. You can probably tell from the depth of information in this presentation that we have a bona fide step-by-step system that helps business owners just like you become financially free using superior marketing that makes your phone ring. Remember earlier I did say that our system works for bigger, even listed corporations. Well, our passion doesn't lie with helping large corporations. Our passion is for the small business owner who has to scrape, fight and battle every day. I'm offering our system to you as a means of reaching your goal, financial freedom for you and your family and the choices that can allow, along with the ability to do whatever you want with your time and money. After all, you more than likely started your business because you had a true passion yourself for what you do. But when marketing is ineffective, owning your own business can become no more than working a poorly paying job. Compelling and successful marketing will assist you in your business. Everybody has a cause that can be more fully pursued and supported when you're financially independent. Let us help you reach that goal. We have the tools, resources and support to help you accomplish that in record time. All we ask is that you allow us to show us how we can help, and we'll do that for free. As you will now understand, there is so much to so-called marketing that is simply wrong. Most small business owners simply accept their poor results as normal because their competitors do the same. They don't know the conversion equation and how to position for uniqueness. But now you know better. Thank you for your time and attention. Please feel free to make contact to discuss this presentation further or request access to watch it again or to receive a free marketing evaluation for your business. The contact details to register your interest are on the screen. To your business growth and every success for the future.